Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of my project analysis series that I'll be covering Lucerne Grand today. So Lucerne Grand is by CDL, which is one of the renowned developers in Singapore. And if you know CDL, they have recently did Ori and also a few of the resale projects like Criterion. So one thing about CDL is, from what I realized, is that workmanship is actually quite good in terms of when it goes into the resale market. And for this particular project, the land plot of Lucerne Grand was bought at 1132 PSF and expected, I would say, roughly around 2004 to 2005 in terms of their average launch price. So without further ado, let's go straight into the location itself. If you can see, this is Lakeside MRT and Lucerne Grand is the nearest plot of land just beside the MRT itself. So there's a few other projects in the area that I want to highlight to you. Why? Because we are going to use those projects as some examples in terms of the data analysis for Lucerne Grand. First one we see Lakefront Residences is just beside Lucerne Grand, and another one beside is Caspian. The other two, which is on the other side of the road, would be Lake Grand and Lakeview. So if you see Lake Grand and Lakeview, these are the last two launches in Jurong Lakeside area. Lakeview was launched in around 2014, while Lake Grand is the latest one at 2016. So why I want to show you all these projects is because first thing first, in this location, these two will be facing the MRT, as well as Lucerne Grand as well is also going to be facing the MRT. So in Lucerne Grand, there'll be some certain facings that you want to take note of. First one, the MRT facing. Second one, the pool facing. And third one, which is the one of the best facing, it is the lake facing. Whereas the other two on the other side of the other road, Lake Grand and Lakeview, they are still slightly further away from MRT. So in terms of location-wise, we can see that Lucerne Grand has the best distance to the MRT, yet with a fantastic unblocked lake view. What we want to understand also from Lakefront and Caspian is that these two projects over the last few years, it has made a lot of profits, especially from the launch time. And in this whole location itself, we can see that there is no new launches besides Lake Grand and Lakeview, which is probably around 10 years as well. So Lucerne Grand is one of the highly anticipated projects in this location. Why? Because first thing first, many buyers all prefer to have a project beside the MRT. Second, it has a very good view that you can take advantage of in terms of the pricing. So without further ado, let's dive into today's analysis on some of the key concerns to consider before entering Lucerne Grand. So the first one, does MRT noise impact a condo's profitability? So we know that every time when you are beside MRT, definitely there will be some track noise. For example, if today you go to Caspian and then you go into one of the unit, the noise of the MRT can be really quite loud. There was one time I went there for a viewing with one of my buyers, and I realized that when I was standing there, the MRT track passed by, and what happened, you can really feel the vibrations and the sound of the MRT noise. So this is definitely a concern that we want to address, and we want to understand whether or not if today we buy a unit facing the MRT, does it still appreciate or does it help us in terms of selling in future? So for the second point, how much less should an MRT facing unit be priced at Lucerne Grand? Because like I mentioned just now, Lucerne Grand has different units, different facings. The first one, the MRT facing. The second one, the pool facing. The third one is the unblocked lake view facing. So when you come to these three different facing, definitely there's a different price point that the developer will price at. So what we want to understand clearly is that, for example, today, how much should we pay if it's a MRT facing versus a pool view facing? Later, I will go into the numbers and show you how do you derive this and how do you gauge if today you're going into the booking for Lucerne Grand. And of course, the third point is that whether or not can HDB upgraders comfortably afford Lucerne Grand. Because first thing first, the land price was sold at about 1,001 plus PSF. So meaning to say that if let's say they launch about 2004 to 2005 averagely, the question is that whether or not the HDB buyers or the HDB upgraders in the area, can they afford Lucerne Grand? But of course, we talk about 1,001 plus in terms of the land price. But if we see the recent news that was launched at River Valley, the land price was sold at around 1,007 PSF, which is ridiculously high, and it really makes a lot of projects look cheap now. Even at River Valley area, River Modern was bought at 1,420 PSF, which is about 300 plus PSF lower than the upcoming land. And furthermore, River Modern has a very good river view, whereas the new plot of land, it has nothing and is also blocked by all the different angles of the land plot itself. Before we carry on, this is my WhatsApp and this is my Telegram chat group. Do help me to scan if you have any burning questions. Today, what I'll be going through fully is on Lucerne Grand and some of the analysis that I'll be doing to understand clearly which are the units that we can go into and how do we differentiate between the different facings and whether or not these are the units that will profit in future. Besides that, if you have any questions in terms of all the other projects that I have been doing as an analysis, you can also scan and share my YouTube channel so that you can understand more about how should you position yourself in today's market if you are buying a unit in one of these projects. Key concern number 1, will MRT noise affect your profitability? I believe this is one of the burning questions that everyone will have, because most of the people, when they hear that there's an MRT track, definitely it will turn them off. And so this is one of the things that we want to cover to understand how do we position ourselves if today we are going into a MRT facing, or whether or not this MRT will really affect us in terms of our purchase. So we now look at seaside residences as an example. So why I use seaside residences is because over there we have two different facings. The first facing is the sea facing, while the second facing is the landed facing. So what we want to understand here is whether or not today, if you have a good view, will it push up your prices in a development itself. If we can see the first date over here, 1st April 2025, the price was sold at 2520 PSF. This is for a sea view facing. So at that point of time, it also set a record price in seaside residences. The other one that we look at now is 17 July 2025, facing the landed at 2439 PSF. So you can see the first one 2520, second one 2439. What it means to say is that today, when the highest record was set at 2520, following a landed facing, it was set at 2439. Meaning to say that once you set a benchmark price, the landed facing owners will tend to follow up. If we see another two transaction, 5th September 2025, another record high was set at 2622 PSF for a sea facing. And following that, during January 2026, it also matched up to 2533 PSF. So what I want to highlight to you is that today, when you go into a project that has a very good view, that can command a better price, normally the other units that have not so good view or alternative views will still catch up in terms of the prices. Just for example, in this situation, when you see seaside residences going at 2526 PSF, at that point of time, Tembusu Grand is also going at 22. But why people is willing to pay 2005, 2006 for a unit facing the sea? It is because this is a unique view that is special towards this development itself. So if we look back at Lucerne Grand, where they have a MRT facing versus a pool facing and another lake facing, we can safely say that when you go into this development, the lake facing units definitely will be at a premium. And this premium, when the buyers in the resale market go for this unit, they will normally help to push up the prices of the MRT as well as the pool facing units. So this is what the main point I want to bring across to you. So now we see seaside residences 3-bedroom. The brown one is the sea-facing units, while the blue ones are the partial sea-facing units. You can see over here, right, in the first one, 2611, February 2025. And then it catch up by 2530, 2638, 2523, 2700 and 2610. You can even see that in January 2026, the 2610 PSF unit already catch up to the previous transaction of 2611. So what I'm trying to bring across here to you, importantly, is to really know that when there is a very good view in terms of your project itself, it really helps you to push up the prices of other units of other phases as well. But what we really want to understand is, will the prices be pulled down because of not so good facing? So the next example we are using is Penrose. Why? Because there is an expressway facing versus a non-expressway facing. So what we want to see in this example is to understand whether or not the expressway facing units, in their pricing, will they pull down our price for the non-expressway facing units. So we look at their prices. One thing to note is that all these units are bought and sold at the same time. And you can see the non-expressway facing unit is transacted at 2275 PSF, while the expressway facing units are from 2120 and it slowly hits 2265, which is just a 10 PSF difference in terms of the pricing. What I want to highlight to you is that today, whether or not you are in an expressway facing or a non-expressway facing unit, it helps to push up the price because of a higher transaction done in terms of a better view unit. So very clearly we can see that because of the better view facing unit, it helps to push up the not so good facing units to a better pricing, better PSF. If you can see over here, it links up all the way to about 2265 PSF. So just now when I show you there is a good facing that helps you to pull up the prices, now I show you another one that is not so good. It also doesn't affect much of the price, but it also helps to push up the prices in some way. End of the day, it doesn't mean that the project has a not so ideal facing like the MRT facing. It means that it will push down the price. More importantly is to understand what is the difference in terms of the different facing and different pricing. So looking back at Lucerne Grand, we have three different views. The first one, like I said, the MRT facing. Second one, the pool facing. And the third one is the lake facing. So now we will discuss how these three facings can differentiate in terms of the resale market and the prices that we should be entering for each of the different facing. So the second key concern that I'll be discussing is how much less should an MRT facing unit be priced at. So in this situation, today we want to look at it clearly from an investor point of view. Because today if you are own stay buyer and you tell me that, oh, I don't want the MRT facing, I also cannot force you to buy an MRT facing if you really don't like the MRT facing. If today you are okay with, for example, the MRT facing or the non-MRT facing or even the lake facing, then the question that we have to ask ourselves is, how much more should we be paying for the different facing in the unit? And we will use the surrounding projects to do a proper analysis so that you know what is the price range that you should be going into. Because you have to understand this very clearly, especially when you are going for the booking, so that you will not buy into a wrong unit itself. I'll be using Caspian because Caspian is one of the projects that is very near to the MRT and it also has a very strong MRT noise. So one thing we want to see is what is the launch price that they were going at from the start. If we can see, the MRT facing units are averagely transacted at 614 PSF, means that from the launch day, they bought it at around 614 PSF. And the non-MRT facing units, they are bought at averagely 641 PSF. So the key thing to note here is the difference in terms of the premium that they are paying. For the MRT and the non-MRT, they are paying a 4% difference. And when we look at today's resale price, the MRT facing unit is transacted averagely at 1518 PSF, while the non-MRT facing is at 1602 PSF. And the key difference is 5.5%. So take note of this, the 5.5% versus the 4%, because this is the number that we want to know in terms of the difference that the buyers are willing to pay in the resale market versus the launch day price. So you can see over here that I summarized for you in terms of their profits. The MRT facing units profit 904 PSF, while the non-MRT facing units profit 961 PSF, which is a difference of 6.3%. At many times, I always advise my buyers to buy the not so good facings. Why? Because normally they are priced cheaper from the developer. But in these circumstances, it can be very different because you can see clearly that the non-MRT facing units, their profit 6.3% more. But today, we don't want to focus on the launch day price of 4.4%. Why? Because this is not something that we can control, but what we want to really understand is this 5.5%, because this 5.5% clearly means that buyers in this region are willing to pay a 5.5% premium for a non-MRT facing unit, which means if today the MRT facing units is 6 to 7% cheaper, then which unit should I be buying? I should definitely go for the MRT facing units. But if we look at it another way, if the MRT facing is cheaper by 4%, then definitely we go for the pool view in Lucerne Grand if you spot such a price difference. So the main difference we talk about now is the MRT facing units versus the pool view facing units. And now we want to look at another example, which is lakefront residences. Why? Because they have a MRT facing unit, which is stack 37, versus a lake facing unit, which is stack 18. Key thing to take note again, the difference in terms of the prices, 6.8%, and this is at the launch period. Means to say, at the launch time, the lake facing units cost 6.8% more than the MRT facing units. But we see today in the resale price, the difference is 8.6%. 6.8 versus 8.6%. Which also means that in the resale market, buyers are willing to pay 8.6% more for a lake facing. So you can see clearly here that the lake facing unit profited 11.6% more, mainly because during the launch day, the difference of pricing is only 6.8%. So if today you bought at the launch day a 6.8 difference in terms of the premium, you might still be able to make a profit. Why? Because in the resale price, the buyers are willing to pay up to 8.6% in terms of the premium when it turns to resale market. So the magic number that we want to take note is the 8.6%. So the difference is 8.6%. Means to say that if today you buy anything below 8.6%, there will be a high chance that you can profit in terms of the resale market. But of course, this is not guaranteed, it's just a guide. But if today, if you go to the booking and you realize that this number is actually only 5% or even 4%, then definitely you will buy the lake facing. Why? Because you are very sure that you are already below the number and you have a very high chance to stand a profit when it comes to the resale market. And these are the things that you clearly want to understand properly before you even go into the booking, so that you know what price you should be going in when you are at the booking day itself. And now for the last key concern is, can HDB upgraders afford to buy from me? This is definitely one of the major concerns that we are always looking at, because we also want to know who can we sell to going forward in terms of our property purchase. We now look at one of the newest BTO cluster that is MOP in this location is Corporation Drive. It was bought at 296,000 and their average prices in the area is transacting at about 650,000. So their estimated proceeds when they sell their BTO, they will take out 504,000 including the CPF that they put in. And if we assume Lucerne Grand 3-bedroom 900 square feet at 2.3 million, which is around 2004 PSF, the down payment that they need is 660,000. So in this situation, if you are a BTO owner and you sell it at 650,000, your proceeds are not even enough to upgrade to Lucerne Grand. And another problem is that if today I want to sell Lucerne Grand at a profit of 300,000, who are my buyers? If we look based on the same example, we have an estimated proceeds of 504,000. If we want to sell at a 300,000 profit, we need to sell at 2.6 million and the down payment needed is 750,000. So clearly we can see from these two examples that as a BTO owner, even I sell my BTO and I want to upgrade to Lucerne Grand, I already have to top up in terms of the down payment. And if today I sell at a 300,000 profit, I have to top up even more into Lucerne Grand itself. And this is a major concern for Jurong HDB upgraders. So in summary, we cannot rely on the people in Jurong to buy from you because they need to top up a lot in terms of their BTO if they sell. But I'm not saying that they can't. It's just that the probability of them buying into this condo, it can be a bit lower because they have to top up a lot. There is a very high chance they might choose other condos that is at a lower price. So in this kind of situation, is it going to be very risky? I would say that definitely it is something concerning. This also means that the buying power is low because the BTO is not making so much money and the BTO supply is not going to be in until the Tengah estate is out. Unlike other clusters like you see, for example, Punggol, the North Shore area, they can even sell a 4-room or 5-room for almost close to $1 million or even some transacted above $1 million. That's why we can see in Punggol why some of the prices really go up quite a lot, because there is a very strong supply of high prices of HDB in the Punggol estate itself. But now I want to go through something with you that is very important. Where are the buyers coming from in this region? If we look at Jayden, on launch day it sold 88%. Now there's still a balance of about 10 units. And you can see the highest transacted in terms of the prices is 3.92 million, averagely at 2.2. But the key thing that we want to highlight over here is this, the percentage of private buyers. So why I want to share with you these percentages, because we can clearly understand just in Jayden, the percentage of private owners are 61%, which is much higher, and these are where your buyers are coming from. We look at another example, which is Lake Garden Residences. Why I use this example is because just now at Jayden is beside Jurong MRT. A lot of people say that location is much better. But now when we look at Lake Garden Residences, it's actually not very near from the MRT. And we can also see the highest transacted was 4.38 million, averagely at 2 million. But the key thing to note again is the private buyers are 52%. So what I want to tell you is that in Jurong, the buyers can come from maybe like Choa Chu Kang, Bukit Panjang, Bukit Batok, because this is the nearby surrounding locations. Like for example, if you look at East Coast, if today you are staying in Tampines, Bedok, Simei, where would you want to upgrade to? Most of the time you will consider at East Coast. Why? Because East Coast is a place that it attracts people into that location. For example, a lot of people like to go there over the weekend for activities, the East Coast Park, the hype, the vibes in the East Coast area. So this is something that we want to take note of, why buyers are coming into Jurong from, because these are the buyers that will be coming in. Clearly from the examples, you can see that most of the purchasers are private owners, and it can be a very high chance, for example, like in Choa Chu Kang, the ECs, in Bukit Panjang, the ECs, that they are coming into Jurong area based on the example. And if we even look at East Coast area, there doesn't have much HDB, but it also makes a lot of money. So now we want to look at Jurong at a different angle because a lot of people feel that Jurong is a very ulu location. And today there'll be a very good chance that Jurong will be like the west side of East Coast in the lakeside area. So why do I say that? It's because there is a transforming Jurong Lake District. But of course today I won't be talking about all the other transformation because I believe that you have heard a lot. What I want to focus clearly on today is on this Jurong Lake Gardens area, where you can see there's so many people over there in the weekends. And also, if you look at, for example, Lantern Festival, you can see so many families are actually going there to bring their kids around. Why I want to tell you this is because if today this area is fully transformed, we can expect a lot of surrounding places, like for example, Choa Chu Kang, Bukit Panjang, Bukit Batok, all these private owners will come into this location. Why? Because they like this lifestyle. It can be like what I mentioned just now, East Coast of the West. That's why we can see clearly why there are 60%, 50% of private owners that are buying into Jurong property. So this is one thing that we want to be very clear, because if this really happens, the potential of this place definitely will not be an issue in terms of the pricing going forward, because a lot of people will worry that what if the price don't go up. But when there is a very huge demand and when they come into this location, then naturally the prices of the property in that area will rise. So if you ask me, I wouldn't see a very big problem in terms of the prices going forward, because there is this huge demand of buyers that's going to come in. Just for example, if we look at East Coast today, the prices are crazy. The prices in East Coast can even buy you prices in the town area when they are not so close to town as well. So this is the main thing that I want to highlight to you. When we come to a location, we want to understand clearly the demand of this location and what is it going to bring in future, because this will definitely be part of your pricing or your exit strategy when you choose to go into locations like Lucerne Grand. So with that, I end my video analysis for today. And if you have any questions again regarding Lucerne Grand or any upcoming projects that is going to be launched soon, please WhatsApp me your questions and I will help you with answering all of them and to see what are the best units that you can buy. If not, you can also join my Telegram community where I'll be sharing many updates over there. But the most important thing that we want to know is when today you go into a booking, what are the units that you need to avoid and what are the units that you can go in based on the pricing in the gap, like I mentioned to you, the 5.5%, the 8.6%, all these numbers you have to be very clear before you go and book so that you will stand a chance to profit in terms of your purchase. So with that, I end my video. My next one that I'll be doing will be on Thomson Reserve. I hope to see you all there. Thank you.